Hi, everybody. Welcome to Mormonish. I'm Rebecca.
And I'm Landon.
And I feel like John should just say, and I'm John, right?
That's
Should we
right.
just say that?
I'm John.
And I'm John, because you guys have seen John Lundwall, Dr. John Lundwall, on here so many times that it's like he's our third co-host. You know, he doesn't even need an introduction. So, although maybe he does need an introduction. I don't know. I think most people know who he is and have seen him. He's one of our favorite reoccurring guests whenever we have something about archaeology, evidences, linguistics, literary constructs, we call Dr. John. Isn't that right, Landon?
He's a one-stop shop.
He's a one-stop shop. That's exactly right. So what we're going to talk about today is, I think, really funny. Or interesting. So on social media, I came across a post, gosh, a while ago. It's been a while, where somebody had asked ChatGPT the question, can you tell me 50 reasons why the Book of Mormon is false, not true? And of course, ChatGPT, within 10 seconds, right? We've got our 10 reasons. And I thought, that is so fascinating. I'm going to copy these reasons. First, of course, I asked permission from the person who did the experiment. And thank you very much. You know who you are. And I'm going to copy these reasons and we're going to go through these and just kind of talk about them on more of a superficial level. Each one on its own could probably be and has been its own podcast. But then John had the brilliant idea. He's like, well, if you're going to ask ChatGPT the 50 reasons why it's false, why don't you also turn around and ask the 50 reasons why the Book of Mormon is true? So I do everything Dr. John tells me, and I did.
Really?
Everything. Really?
I'll go to the mailbox and look for the check.
That's right. That's exactly it. If I had a checkbook, I'd write one out right now. So that means, of course, ladies and gentlemen, tonight our slideshow is 200 slides long. It's going to be amazing. I'm totally kidding. We're having too much fun tonight. So anyway, we're going to dive right in with this little experiment. Let's go to the first slide. Dr. John did name this for us. It's a great name for the episode, and he called it True or False, ChatGPT and the Book of Mormon, because that's what we're going to go through. And again, and why don't you speak to this, John? When you ask ChatGPT a question, what does that mean? What does it find for us?
Well, you know, it's a data miner, so it just goes over and looks at all the arguments for or against, or, you know, all the information for or about something. It's not, you know, I read a meme a while back. It said, I want AI to do my laundry and dishes so I have more time to read and do art, but instead AI does art and reads for me and gives me more time to do laundry and chores.
You do laundry and chores. No, is out.
That's so that's you know, AI doesn't give you the truth, and it doesn't yeah, it's not developed far enough to actually be an interactive thinking. It spits out what it is given. So if we're going to do this, then ask it the reasons why the Book of Mormon is true, why the Book of Mormon is false, and, you know, let's take a look at it.
Yeah, and let's take a look. And that's what we've done. And I know there is an LDS ChatGPT. I can never remember the name of it. Do you remember, Landon? Is it like LDS?
I have no idea.
Or something. Yeah, where they actually do feed it only faithful sources. So it does kick out only faithful answers. And I podcasted on the newscast about it. I can't remember why. I can't remember the name of it, but it is.
Yeah, I know you talked about it, but I follow the prophet's advice and stay away from AI. So.
Oh, there is that. Yeah, they have increasingly come out, and I podcasted about this too, with sort of warnings about AI and just be very careful. And I think it's for this very reason that John just said. It's just going to give you what's out there. You know what I mean? It's not weighing one way or the other. It's just going to tell you what's there. So if you want to synthesize all the information out there on is the Book of Mormon true or false, this is going to do it. And that might be kind of eye-opening to some people.
So are you saying that if $1 billion corporation were to like flood the internet with the same thing over and over again, ChatGPT would data mine that and say, this is what, this is your answer?
AI can be manipulated.
Yep.
And corporations do that. So, you know, it's not the Messiah that we're looking for. These are not the robots that you're looking for. So it can be manipulated.
Yeah, and that's
it is interesting because, look, I mean, you don't I'm going to just say this up front. Truth is not on the side of the Book of Mormon. So, AI isn't articulated towards truth. So it's just going to data mine what people have been arguing about. Let's do it.
Mhm.
Let's go for it.
Yep. That's it. It's going to show us the landscape out there. And I remember a post very early on, like a year and a half ago, when ChatGPT, everyone's like, what's that? And it says something like, is it faithful? Because some of the answers it was kicking out, basically, like you said, if SEO and the church is flooding everything, this is what it's going to pick up. So let's go to our next and first.
Hey, I just
slide.
want to say faithful is truthful.
Faithful is truthful.
So I just have to object. A lot of ex-Mormons are more faithful than the leaders and apologists of the church because they're following the truth.
That's right. That's a very good point. Yep. Those kind of wiggly words. So here we go. Let's ask ChatGPT the question, what are 50 reasons? We went big. We asked 50 reasons. What are 50 reasons the Book of Mormon is false?
I objected to this, by the way. I was like, really? 50?
Yeah.
Good grief. I got a bottle of wine right here on the corner of my desk.
I know.
And by number 10, I'm going to be soused. I'm going to be
the sheer number. This is part of it.
All right, let's do this. 50.
The sheer number is part of it, though, that it could just go, boom, here's 50 reasons that it's false. 50 ways to leave your lover. There's all kind of 50s. 50 is a magic number. So, Landon, do you want to read the first thing that ChatGPT kicked out before it started listing all the reasons? This is what it said. It gave a little apologetic.
Providing a list of 50 alleged falsehoods or contentious points from the Book of Mormon is a complex task and might be perceived as disrespectful to those who hold it as a sacred text. However, I can list some common points of debate that critics often discuss. If you're looking for more detailed scholarly critique, there are many sources available from historians and religious scholars.
I actually like that. I like that the AI made that prompt. I mean, it's protecting itself, maybe.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, this shows us that AI has an ass because it's covering it.
Right. Yeah.
That sets the tone for the whole podcast. But I just love this little picture. I typed in robot reading the Book of Mormon. Look at his big eyes. He's like, what? I just thought that was so funny.
That's actually, there you go, an AI graphic.
Yeah.
Is he your minister?
That's exactly right.
Your neighborhood minister?
That's right. I kind of felt like if you look at his breastplate.
Yeah, the home teacher. What are they called now?
Nobody knows. That's what's so funny about President Nelson changing all the verbiage. Nobody knows what to call anything. Are you my home minister, teacher? No one knows. And so people just don't say it. But look at his breastplate. It almost looks sort of a Book of Abraham type. I mean, isn't that funny how it pulls it in? I just love it. I think it's great. All right, we're going to kick through these guys. Do not be afraid that there are 50, okay? Not at all. So it just made a list. It made a list for us. Here we go. I put one on each slide for the reasons that it's false. So, John, do you want to read the first one really quick? We're just going to read them, and we're just going to make a few comments as we go through.
No evidence of large-scale civilizations. Critics argue that there is no archaeological evidence for the large-scale civilizations described in the Book of Mormon.
There it is, number one.
Yeah, there's no real urbanization in North America. There is in Central and South America, but not look, the Book of Mormon describes a fully literate, completely urbanized, immense agricultural base, huge trading network, millions of people civilization. Yeah. So, that's monotheistic, right? And is producing millions of texts. So you got to go out there and be able to find that, and you find nothing, not anywhere in the Americas. So that's a death blow to the claim.
It is. And I think that's why that was number one. And I was just reading a post today on a Faithful site where someone had asked that question. What about the fact there's no archaeological evidence? And everybody, 60 or 70 comments said, that's not important because we don't know where it is. Of course, we can't find archaeological evidence. We don't know where it is. And that's so faith promoting.
Well, you have to know where it is. So the problem is when you are saying it could be here, 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 wherever you guesstimate it might be, you are taking away the history and heritage of the indigenous people of that area. You have to pick a site and be right.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're doing damage. And at this point, that's all the church does, is it does damage. Oh, it could be here. It could be here. Don't hold us to anything. We don't want to be responsible for anything. The other thing the apologists do is they pick any kind of, I mean, look, in North America, Poverty Point, Louisiana, that's second millennium BCE. They'll point to that and say, ha, there's the Jaredites, because that's somewhat an urbanized culture. It's a big mound structure at the peak, maybe 4,000 or 5,000 inhabitants, which is pretty impressive for something around, 14, 15, 1600 BCE. But no agriculture, no, almost no pottery. I mean, no real pottery. Pottery develops with agriculture. If you're a hunter-gatherer, you don't carry pots around. They break too easy. You carry baskets. So, no writing. And you're not looking for a town of 4,000 or 5,000 people. You're looking for a city of 40,000 people.
Big difference.
And the only thing you get like that in North America is Cahokia, 1300 AD, right? And still no writing. So nothing. And Central America doesn't, again, the writing serves the oral tradition, not a literate one. So it's the wrong kind of writing. There's nowhere you can point to in the Americas and get the evidence that the Book of Mormon demands. And if the Book of Mormon demands it, God demands it. So, you've got faith. Authentic faith is showing up with the evidence.
But were there wooden submarines, John?
Well, yes, I just made one during lunch yesterday.
I think right there, just with John speaking, we've gone through 27 of the slides. So now when we get to
God.
we can just say,
because I just started my
John
wine.
Said.
My
That's
wine
right.
bottle.
You're on a roll. That's what I mean. This will be easy. Don't be afraid of the sheer number, because it's all the things we're going to talk about anyway. Okay. So number 1 was the archaeological evidence. Oops. Number 2. Did we skip number 2?
Number 2 seems to be missing.
What? Wait, go to the next slide. We'll never know what number 2 was.
Know.
That's
it's
crazy.
A mystery.
We're going to have to find that out and put in the show notes. I wonder if they're all just skipped one. That's really funny. Okay, number 2 must have been, maybe number 2 is we have no idea where the hell it is.
We don't know where the slide is. We don't know where the Book of Mormon is.
Okay. Let me just say, I did this on purpose. Number 2 is missing to indicate that we do not know where the geography is. It's perfect. That's right. Okay. Landon, do you want to read number 3?
Yeah, wheeled vehicles. References to wheeled vehicles, which were not used by pre-Columbian civilizations in the Americas.
Yeah, that's a big one, huh? No wheels, right, John?
Well, on toys, on little
toys.
figurines, but that wheel on the far right with the rubber tread is as realistic as any of the other wheels in the Americas.
Yep.
Well, is that wheelie true?
Is that?
Oh God, do I have to do this as well?
You better get 2 bottles
We're
of wine,
recording
John.
this late at night, and I have to do dad jokes.
Need more wine.
Okay, number 4. That's true. Only on toys were wheels. Okay, here's one that we love to talk about. Old world plants, mentions of wheat and barley, which were not found in the Americas during the time periods described. And again, this is ChatGPT just going out and going, this is what they're saying. People are saying this is important. So that's correct, right, John? That wasn't part of it.
No, again, it's what they do with writing. They show writing and say, hey, this qualifies as an evidence, when in fact it did. They show plates and say, hey, qualifies as evidence. It doesn't. It's the plates, wrong context, not the right kind of writing. The writing is not the right kind of writing, serves different epistemology. The grain, no, there's no wheat or barley in the Americas. I mean, there's what is
mini
it?
Barley, they call
Yeah,
it, which
like
was
not
never
domesticated.
doesn't meet any of the
there are
requirements.
hundreds of seeds from grasses that indigenous peoples used. They even grew some of them, but nothing that's urbanized, an agricultural base that's urbanized, right? So you got some goose weeds, you got some rice grasses, you got amaranth, which is what the apologists are using for the wheat, but it's not. It doesn't qualify.
Yep.
And this
again,
one's interesting because we always hear, about the battles and, oh, they all died off. Oh, the weapons all rusted.
right.
Well, what happened to all the plants? If other people still were, the Lamanites made it through, they would have been growing the same plants. They would not have just disappeared. How do all the plants disappear?
That's a
And
very
then
good point.
amazingly come back post Columbia, post
Right.
Columbus.
Yeah.
No, it's insurmountable.
Insurmountable. And again, each of these slides could be and has been its own podcast. So if you're curious about any of this and want to go more in depth, you can look any of this up. A lot of people have talked about these different things. Oh, this is a big one. John, go ahead and read that.
I'm just looking at the picture. I would like those abs, but I like the bottle of wine too much. So
Yeah, that
Ne-
AI just
yeah, whatever.
I have those abs, John.
yeah.
I know
If
you do,
Landon were to
Landon.
stand
You
up,
just
he
can't
would
see it because
see.
I'm sitting.
There's a
I've
reason
seen
we
behind your
podcast.
paywall.
There's a reason that we podcast from here up, because podcasting doesn't let you go to the gym like you used to.
All right, steel and iron. The use of steel and iron in the Book of Mormon does not match the non-metallurgical history of pre-Columbian America. Sure enough, no steel or iron in pre-Columbia Americas. What's the fellow's name? Wayne May.
Wayne May.
May, yeah.
He keeps showing an iron arrowhead
Yes.
or spear
Yes.
point and says, "Hey, we have evidence." Well, no, you don't. First off, you need 1,000 of those, 10,000 of those things. If you've got one in all of North America, that's a good indication that it's been imported into the data.
Yep. But don't you think every time you read the Book of Mormon, this is what you picture, right? You've got the full armor, you've got the sword, and you don't even have to picture it. There are paintings, there are movies, there are clips. This is what you see. This is what you picture, which is why it's so exciting, right? But not accurate.
Yeah,
All
I
right,
pictured
number
those
6.
abs.
Yeah, we want those abs. That's right. Oh, here's a good one. Landon, you want to read that?
Silk, references to silk, which was not produced in the pre-Columbian Americas.
Oh, there you go. Not at all, I guess.
I will say the top picture is much closer to my abs.
Sort of like a slug. Is that what we're talking about here? So, and I'm trying to think, they mentioned silk in the Book of Mormon, just like fine goods,
silks,
right?
fine goods,
silks and
rich
things like that.
people have, yeah.
Yep, exactly. And there are some paintings of the Book of Mormon, that one by Jonathan McNaughton, where there's fabric draped everywhere. I think that's how they picture it. So very bohemian.
Again, the apologists will argue that it's a loan transfer. It's a translation issue, that they're probably making fine rabbit hair cloth, or there's flax from different plants, and it's just Joseph Smith translated it as silk. Largely, the apologists almost always argue for why we don't have the evidence, and so it's been removed. It's been a loan transfer word, mistranslated. Right? They're always moving the goalpost. They can never sit. I mean, they can't even tell you where it's at. And you know what? This would solve a lot of these slides. If you could show me where the Book of Mormon took place,
Correct.
We could go there and say, hey, where's the wheat? Where's the silk? Where's the sheep? Where's the wheels? This is it. This is where the Book of Mormon take place. I've got to be finding this, or at least depictions of this, because this would also get depicted in your murals, your engravings, your etchings, your stelas, your pottery, right? Boom.
Which is why the church will never say where it happened at.
Nope, their official statement on their church website.
Argue over it, but but the man who's supposed to be able to receive revelation to answer the question is not going to weigh in.
No, and the church's website says we take no position, and they leave it to people like Book of Mormon Central to put out their marvelous work, Greatness of the Evidence videos, where they say it literally is everywhere. Everybody, as they're reading the Book of Mormon all around the world, can step out into their backyard and say, I wonder if a piece of it happened here. It's everywhere. Therefore, it's nowhere.
The
Interesting.
great apparatus and machinations of the Mormon priesthood has adjudicated itself to the height of a temple steeple and not to the historicity of the Book of Mormon.
I think that's a meme.
That should tell you all you need to know.
And there it is. And we're done. Thank you, everyone. All right. Number 7, DNA evidence. Genetic studies have not shown a link between Native Americans and the ancient Israelites as suggested by the Book of Mormon. And this is a fairly recent, within the last couple decades development. It changed, it impacted a lot of people. They changed the statement in the Book of Mormon that said the peoples, right? They changed it to among the peoples because now we have DNA evidence saying, nope, there's no link to Israel or any of that. So
the death blow. It's a huge problem. Not only can you not find where the Book of Mormon took place, you can't find any Nephites or Lamanites either.
Well, as we've heard, lack of evidence is not evidence. You need to remember that.
And of course, they'll argue that it bottleneck and other things, the DNA completely disappeared because of a small group of people. And again, they argue for the fact of why the evidence would disappear and why there isn't evidence, not provide any evidence.
I'd like to make a correction. A complete lack of evidence is evidence.
I know. That is a correction, but they keep claiming it's not. So, and again, as you can see, we're speeding through these. Feel free to look further into any of these. They're very interesting. John, you want to read this one? This is one of your favorites, I think.
Hebrew and Egyptian languages. The Book of Mormon claims it was written in Reformed Egyptian, a language for which there is no evidence.
That's right. We did a podcast on that, didn't we, with John?
Nope. No Semitic language. We have no idea what Reformed Egyptian is, and neither did Joseph Smith.
Nor do we have it written on gold plates or any other form. So
there it is. Move on. Landon, do you want to read that?
Nephite.
Let's just go in order. So it goes John, Landon, Rebecca. Okay. And we can just go in a circle. All right.
Nephite and Lamanite cultures. Lack of archaeological evidence for the Nephite and Lamanite cultures described in the text.
And that's pretty similar to what we already talked about. So
also great abs. All these pictures, they all have abs.
They are, next time I'll try to say, and I actually do type in Lamanites. They know, AI knows what this is. So next time I'll type in flabby Lamanites or something like that.
If they've got abs like this, they're not of the Mormon culture, because they'd be going to potlucks and all the other good stuff that goes along.
That's right. I like the one on the left. Wait, go back. He looks like he's on the runway. He's like,
yeah, he does look pretty.
Work it.
Like he's about to spin, flip his hair.
Too much fun. All right. So this means it's my turn. Number 10, coinage. References to coinage, which was not used by ancient American civilizations. Yeah, they seem to have a whole monetary system that there's absolutely no evidence of. Am I right on that, John?
Correct. Zero.
No evidence of coinage.
Doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's not there.
Next.
Next. I'm telling you, we're just going to.
Glass. Mention of glass, which was not produced by ancient American civilization. Sure enough, not there.
Not there. Can't find it. There it is.
Oh, my favorite. Chariots. Yep. References to chariots, which were not used in the Americas. Obviously, if we have no will, kind of hard to have a chariot.
That's right. And look, there's a tiny little horse, because I know they do say that there's the, smaller horse that they think might have been there. And then they say there's no evidence in the Book of Mormon that says the horse was ever connected to the chariot. So when I picture them going into battle, I picture a horse next to a chariot, which is a box without wheels. And then I guess those guys with the abs pick it up and run it into battle.
They're all pulling it.
They're all running
They're the wheels. They're holding the axle.
Yeah. And the horse is just coming along for fun. Yeah. I'm sorry. I digress. That's right. Okay. Whose turn is it? We're having too much fun. Is it mine already again? Cattle and sheep, domesticated cattle and sheep were not present in the Americas during the time periods described. Absolutely true. Were there any domesticated anything, right, John? Nothing.
Or I think they had 4 turkeys.
Yeah.
Turkeys, gerbils, llamas, and one other thing. So I just picture
no sheep or cattle.
I just picture this going, "That'll do, pig." That'll do.
Oh, that'll do.
Great movie.
That is a
Great
great
movie.
movie. It is a great movie.
But then what do you think
We're-
it was that Ammon, protecting what was it, turkeys?
Turkeys must have been what he
Okay.
was saving
Sure
for.
enough, he goes out and cuts off all those hands and arms protecting the king's sheep, and the king arrives on his chariot.
And then he goes while he's deciding, he's hooking up his horses.
That's right. That's right.
Did he cut off their arms with no still weapon?
The obsidian
with
blade.
stone tools. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it just.
Whoops.
Yeah,
Whoops. Dope.
I've not seen coloring pages in primary about this. That's where I spent most of my time. There was nothing like this. So, okay, I think it's John's turn.
Agricultural practices.
One of my favorite ones.
Agricultural practices described do not match those of ancient American civilizations. I think we already talked about that.
Yep.
Well, I think don't they like till the ground and things like that, and makes it you can't really till the ground if you don't have draft animals that can pull a plow. So they would used to plant the corn and the beans, and they'd plant it all together, and it would support each other. There was no plowing and that kind of agriculture.
Well, there was no beast of burden to pull a plow,
Yes.
but they used, they had wood hoes and tools. But it was, they would clear ground, actually burn clear maize. You can only grow maize on a plot of ground for 4 or 5 years. It saps all the nutrients out of it. So they would clear a section, plant it for 4 or 5 years, move to another section, burn it down, plant it for 4 or 5 years, on and on. But yeah, no draft animals, certainly no tractors.
Yeah.
Or wheels, right? But the abs they got. The
abs are there. See, and this
I don't think we can argue. We'll give that one to the apologists. They did have abs.
No, I'll tell you what bothers me though is the more I learn about the cultures that were there, and a lot of this is from Dr. John and our podcast. And the more I go around to museums and I go to places like Chaco or Hovenweep, I'm like, it is incredible what they did, what they were accomplishing. The civilizations that they built, the things that they were doing, it's incredible. It's not what it is reported to be in the Book of Mormon. It's kind of appropriating it. I mean, learn what was really there and what they were doing. Your mind will be blown.
Right. I mean, look, they created very sophisticated, elegant life ways to live in the environment that they were in. But again, no mass agriculture makes it east of the Mississippi till about 1000 AD. That's when maize arrives, right? That's when you get your first urbanized city, Cahokia, about 40,000 people, 1300 AD. So, there's, sure enough, this is, it's not problematic. It's wrong. It's just wrong. It's all the way through wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's what I arrive at too. I'm like insulted for everything I'm learning about, and the cultures and the people and how amazing everything was. And it's not at all what this is telling you. So, Landon, I think you're up.
New World Geography. Some geographic descriptions do not match known locations in the Americas. With that whole plate tectonics things, everything moved. How can we know?
The thing of it is I think you can. The descriptors in the Book of Mormon are general enough that you can find parallels no matter where you go. That's why they say, no, it's in North America. No, it's in Central America. No, it's in Bolivia. No, it's in Asia. No, it's,
India.
It's in Africa. It's right. It's you could locate it using the descriptors in the Book of Mormon, geographic descriptors, because it's not tight. And so you could locate it practically anywhere. And that's why you have to wed that with all the other descriptors, the archaeology, anthropology, linguistics, DNA, right? And so
Well, I think you can locate it 80%, 80% of the things might line up, but there's always something that doesn't
That's
quite.
true.
They have to
There's
quite
pull back.
always
Yeah.
something that,
Yeah.
I mean, the River Grijalva in Mexico runs the wrong direction, I believe.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
And so that's a real big problem. But again, I've heard apologists say, when Christ came, there was this huge geological upheaval. Valleys became mountains, mountains became valleys. And so, they'll use that to say, well, that kind of destroys our template, right? It mixed it up. It's Jenga. Okay. Once again, an argument from lack of evidence.
Lack
Let
of
me tell you
Yeah,
why
and
I
that's an
can't give you
interesting
the
argument.
evidence.
Yeah, because how do we know Christ came? The Book of Mormon tells us. And so Christ coming also tells us the Book of Mormon is true. It's like a very circular.
But in that case, we should see some geological evidence
Yeah,
that shows
sure.
that mountains became rivers and rivers became mountains, and
Right.
destruction and floods and that completely changed the landscape. So
Also, an enormous amount of iconography showing Jesus.
Yeah.
Who, should be holding a sheep, because he gave all these parables about sheep. They had no idea what
a
sheep
sheep
were,
was.
but he's using all the New Testament references and the old world, connections to people that are completely disconnected from all of that. Then we should.
Olive trees,
Yes.
sheep, all these things that they would have no idea what they even meant, but that's their iconography. So
I think he meant turkeys.
Hide your candle under a bushel.
That's right. Other turkeys have I. I think he meant turkeys.
Which are not of this fold.
Which are not of this flock. This is what I think it was. So, all right. I think this one is similar to what we talked about before. Fortifications, descriptions of extensive fortifications that have not been found archaeologically. I think we can go past that one. We touched on that.
Actually,
go back.
Go back. I don't know if I agree with that.
Oh.
I mean, there are a lot
you're going to find fortifications everywhere in any civilization.
Yeah, there are a lot of fortifications kind of all around. So I don't know.
I think they're saying to the extent with
the descriptions in the Book of Mormon.
Of the descriptions of the Book of Mormon, where whole cities are walled, and maybe they had
Monte Alban is walled. There are a lot of walled cities. I mean, the book, nothing in the Book of Mormon exists in the actual archaeology, but as just a small point that would have to be honed down for me.
Yeah, we'd have to have a geography in order to define that.
Yep, that's right.
What you're saying.
That's it. And see, this proves that Mormonish is fair and balanced. We see something, we're like, you know what? That actually could be something. So we're not going to shy away from that. Hurry, change the slide.
Two more glasses of wine. I'm going to agree with everything on the
He's
screen.
like, it's true. I'm going back. That's right.
Yeah, fortifications is about as universal as they had food.
It is. It's like dirt. The apologists say dirt. It's been solved. Okay, go ahead, Landon. No,
are we allowed to drink on YouTube?
I don't know.
I don't know. I guess we're going to find out.
We've never tried it. As long as it's only Gatorade, I think we're good.
Gatorade.
Oh yeah, it's Gatorade.
It's Gatorade, and that's just fine. Okay. John's turn.
My turn. Weapons and armor. Types of weapons and armor described that do not match those used by ancient American civilizations. Okay. Well, they had armor, they had weapons, but again, no steel, no swords.
Right.
Sure enough. They had gourds and leather-ish. So, whatever.
They had alligator skin. That was
alligator skin. That's it. Okay. 18. Landon's turn.
Metal plates. The use of metal plates for writing, which was not a known practice in the ancient Americas.
And we've done
anywhere really else in the world.
6 podcasts on this, I think.
Small plates with religious chants and poems and that kind of stuff.
Ritual.
There is no gold plates found anywhere that qualifies for something that would support the claims of the Book of Mormon. Nowhere, no time, no place. Period.
Let's move on.
Let's move on. That's it. Okay. Oh, this is a good one. Christian theology. Some theological concepts in the Book of Mormon are similar to those of 19th century American Christian.
No, you don't say.
Similar.
don't
You don't
say.
say.
Just meaning that we find these motifs and these themes all throughout the Book of Mormon, as if Joseph Smith or whoever translated, was taking things right out of the Bible. And of course, this does not exist. Infant baptism is always my thing, right? This does not exist in that era.
No, none of the theology in the Book of Mormon is time appropriate.
Yes.
None of it. That is it's a death blow. None of it is time appropriate. So that doesn't mean it's not good theology. The Book of Mormon has great theology in it, but does not belong in 600 BCE Jerusalem, does not belong in pre-Columbia Americas. It does belong in the 19th century, Joseph Smith's Melu. So again,
how do you overcome
theologically?
Yeah.
So where does the Book of Mormon take place? Where does the Book of Mormon take place geographically? You can't tell me.
Can't tell me, but north.
Where
or
does
South
the Book
America?
of Mormon take place theologically? Well, that is completely out of time and place.
You're describing Christian acts before Christ is even born, hundreds of years before Christ is even born, to introduce the idea in the New World, and yet here it is being taught in the Old World. But
yeah, that's it.
I digress.
I digress. That's right.
I love in the Book of Ether.
Booking on through here. That's right.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm drinking Gatorade. In the Book of Ether, there's a sermon given by Moroni as editor, and he sermonizes on actually he's quoting the plates of Ether, right? So Ether, who talks about the building of the New Jerusalem. But unfortunately, the Jaredites lived before Jerusalem, the old Jerusalem.
Or old Jerusalem.
Built, right? And Moroni catches himself. And so then he explains the old Jerusalem to get built so that he can go back and say, oh, and now the New Jerusalem will be built. I mean, it's just a guffaw followed by a guffaw. And it's just it's stuff like that actually is quite enjoyable to read, because
that's right.
You just see the slow moving train wreck in it.
How delightful. There you go. Okay. I don't even know whose turn it is. Landon, is it your turn?
I'll go. Biblical passages, direct quotes from the King James Bible, including translation errors specific to that version.
Yeah, that's a big one people point to. The same errors in the Bible in Joseph Smith's home make it into, typos, words that are incorrect into the Book of Mormon. That's kind of a big one.
Yeah. Advanced technology. Is it my turn? I have no idea where we're
Go
at.
ahead. We're just totally out of it.
Technology not known to ancient American civilization.
And we kind of covered almost all that. The planting, the war, all of it. So, but I love this picture on a laptop. I think that's
sure enough.
There he is. Okay. Complex writing systems.
Complex
writing systems not supported by archaeological findings. All John has to say is see my episodes 1 through 6 with Mormonish.
I actually need to make a correction, because on Mormonism Live a couple of weeks ago, you and RFM and Bill cited my work, and Bill said something to the fact that the writing systems in Mesoamerica were too simplistic. I've never said that.
No,
all writing systems are complex, and in fact, the evolution of writing goes from really complex to much simpler alphabetic, right? And so claims of complex writing systems not supported by archaeological evidence. What you're looking for in the Book of Mormon is a culture that runs itself through texts. And what you find in pre-Columbia America in every culture is cultures that run itself through oral traditions, whether they have texts or not. So that's the difference.
And that makes sense. Thanks for that clarification. All right, let's keep going. Rivers and seas, descriptions of rivers and seas that do not match known geography. We talked about that before. Things that are backwards, rivers that are missing, North Sea, East Sea, West Sea, just doesn't quite.
The land northward seems to be westward, and the land southward seems to be eastward. But You tilt it a little bit, you make it work.
And again, all that destruction, right? All that destruction changed everything. Oh, here's a good one. You want to read that, Landon?
Linguistic anachronisms, use of words and phrases that are anachronistic to the time periods described. I think we actually have an episode coming up on that.
We do. My favorite one, adieu, right? Adieu. Which is found in the Book of Mormon, for those of you that don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. All right. Go ahead, John.
Population sizes, descriptions of population sizes that seem implausible given non-demographic data.
Yeah, millions, huh? Millions. And how many arrive? I know we counted it up before. A very small group.
Well, there were millions of people in some of these areas and millions of people in North America if you count the entire continent. But sure enough, it's not the population demographics in the Book of Mormon itself are hugely problematic. By Jacob, right, the brother of first Nephi, he gives a sermon on look, everybody, you got to stop sleeping around and practicing polygamy. Right. Who's practicing polygamy? That's a group of 20, 30 people. And then they split halfway, right? And so you got 10 or 20 people, and Jacob's giving a sermon on, right, in the King's List in Ether by the third generation. First off, kingship only occurs through urbanization. Yeah, most of these villages have chiefs, not kings. And the demographics in both the Book of Ether and the Book of Mormon assume right up front hundreds of thousands of people because there's large-scale mass warfare, right? Even if you have two armies of 10, 20,000 each, that's 40,000 people, but you need another 100,000 on each side to do all the supply chain and to grow all the food and supply all the weapons. And I mean, you need masses of people in order to support the narrative that's being described. And so sure enough, this is hugely problematic for the time frame of the Book of Mormon.
Yeah.
When I say hugely problematic, I mean, no, it's wrong.
Yeah. I like how you say death blow. Like on almost every slide, you're like, death blow.
Death blow.
How many death blows can you have before you actually die? I don't know. All right, let's keep trucking on through here. Ethnic and racial origins, claims about the origins of Native Americans people that conflict with current anthropological understanding. We talked about that, DNA evidence, and there's so many podcasts out there that you can check out. But yes, that's definitely not accurate. 27.
Technological capabilities, descriptions of technological capabilities that do not match those of ancient American civilizations.
Yeah.
I think we hit that one before.
Yeah, we kind of did, but I love my AI.
Duplicate, though. I do like the picture.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And again, ChatGPT, it gives you some duplicates kind of said in a different way because it's just, grabbing what it finds out there. But for those of you that are listening, I have some Mayan warriors and they're launching a rocket ship to the moon.
Well,
but all these
to the Quakers on the moon.
Yes,
I wouldn't call that Mayan.
Oh, you don't think so?
Yeah, out of respect to the Mayan.
All right. Well, I did type in Mayan when I used AI. So, but again, I think all of those technological feats and advances, of course, well known in the 19th century. That's the point. Okay, go ahead, John.
Historical timelines that do not align with known historical events in the Americas.
Yeah. And that's where we get into all the things that how could they possibly have known because it has not happened before and all of that. And also in the Americas. So.
Yeah.
So that's a good one. Okay. Go ahead, Landon.
Ancient prophets, descriptions of ancient prophets and their activities that lack corroborating evidence.
I don't know what that means.
Perhaps it means that if they really were, such a prominent person, they might have been inscribed on a rock somewhere, right? You might have heard through other sources about them. Maybe that's what it means.
Well, and you've got Lehi, who was in Jerusalem and no record of him. So I'm guessing maybe those and he talks about Isaiah in the New World, and yet there's no mention of Isaiah's writings anywhere else in the Americas. So
Yeah.
I'm guessing
Actually, that's a big
Cool.
one. That is a good point, because
Yeah.
Isaiah is cited. I mean, Jesus quotes Isaiah and he tells everybody, read Isaiah. Everybody's on Isaiah, which means that would be written everywhere.
Right.
So you've got to produce Isaiah
Yeah. In the New World.
in the New World.
And
Yeah.
he's not there. So yeah, that is actually one I haven't thought of before. So good job, ChatGPT. All right. Zoological anachronisms, and I think we've hit this before too, mention of animals like goats and swine that were not present in the Americas during the time periods described. Almost everything they mention is
Didn't
not
exist.
there. Yep. Ooh, good one, Landon.
Yeah, swords and scimitars, references to swords and scimitars not consistent with known ancient American weaponry.
Yep. And we talked about that before. That's exactly right. Ooh, here we go. Natural disasters, descriptions of natural disasters that have no supporting geological evidence. What do you think of that one, John?
That's Jerry Grover. He's the geologist.
Yes, that's exactly right. That's it. So,
Is Jerry Grover a geologist? I thought he was a metallurgist.
Oh, man, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I
a
thought
lot
he
of
was a
apologists
linguist.
talk about this, though. Yeah, a lot of apologists talk about this, though. The events, and this has got to be that, and this has got to be that, and I'm not sure if it's entirely
Well,
accurate.
I mean, Scripture Central starts their greatness of the evidence series by diving to Samabak, an underwater Mayan city, and they compare that to a city destroyed, during the time of the visit of Jesus, when all the cities were destroyed by volcanoes and fires. Unfortunately, it's 2.5, 3 centuries off in dating. So
Yeah,
I, that's I to me, that's an unforced error. I don't even know why you would do that. And if you're going to suggest that, you got to give the proper dates. I, again, that's just really problematic to me. But again, the truth is not on their side. So all of this is, just variations of a theme.
exactly. And that's where we see some things that are very similar. Okay, you want to read that, John?
Migration patterns. Migration patterns describe that conflict with known historical and anthropological data. I don't know what that means.
I know,
I think-
I know what that one means.
Yeah.
Remember the people who sell off on ships and go and
Haygoth?
Haygoth, and he
Yep,
settles
yep.
all the islands of the sea. Well, the problem is, Hawaii's not settled until 500 AD, or no, I think it's 1500, 1000 AD. It's very late. And all the islands on the sea who were told, that Samoa and all of those were Lamanites, they all came from Asia.
Mhm.
And out of New Zealand and other areas, they did not come out of the Americas. So those migration patterns that they describe are wrong. They also say that they came from Israel and landed in, and we know that they really came from across the land sea
The land bridge,
10,000 years ago through the land bridge is how the migrations happened into the Americas.
Yep. And didn't you say, Landon? Didn't you say, Landon, that when you were in school, you kind of heard about migrations and you were thinking, well, that's weird because I think they came in a submarine, or I think they.
I remember reading a book about the land bridge and how they'd come from Asia into the Americas, and I was going, well, we know better than that. They came by boat. God led them here.
Yeah.
Well, sure enough, they didn't come from Israel. And right, the Polynesian islands are occupied east to west and not from the Americas, right? So that's all correct. Migrations came in waves, and there was a lot of apparently coastal hopping. So they did come in boats. So it wasn't just all over the land bridge. It wasn't that long ago when Clovis first was, 13,000, 12,000 BCE. No culture was supposed to exist in the Americas before
Right.
that timeline. Now they're finding 20,000, 30,000 BCE, depending on the data. And so they're recognizing there's different waves of people coming over long periods and coastal hopping. So they're following a coast in a little coracle or a little canoe.
Yeah, they're not open ocean
No,
boats.
no.
Yeah, coastal canoes. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's an important one. And then that definitely needs more study by different people. I think that's a really good one. Okay. Cultural practices. Cultural practices described do not match any of the known ancient American civilizations. And we talked about that. Any of the practices, right? The technology, the practices. Here I have a warrior kneeling in prayer. Who knows? But yeah, nothing fits.
But you don't get around it either.
Yeah.
Now, it's, again, there's no anthropology that suggests the Book of Mormon ever took place. You don't get around that.
John, you point out the taking of heads that was so prominent among the Mesoamericans and South America, and in fact, we've seen pictures where the LDS claim, "Oh, this is a temple priest, and he's got a head hanging."
Right. This is Jesus, and it's yeah.
It's going to be my topic at Sunstone this year.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Yeah. Good. No, it's a great topic. It really is, and it's so telling and so revealing. Once you see it, you don't unsee it. So yeah, that's really important. Cultural practices. Okay, moving ahead. John.
Economic systems described that do not align with those. I think we went over that.
We kind of did. Although, did we talk about how barley was supposedly used as the monetary system? We talked about no coinage. And I mean, that's interesting to me.
Oh, they did use barley as a unit of trade.
Which makes no sense, because the reason that you use coinage or paper money or other things is so that you have something small of value that you can carry, right. Because it makes no sense that you're going to show up with 100 bags of barley
perishable money
to trade for goods somewhere. You're going to come in carrying your barley bags instead of a wallet, and say, "Oh, I want your shoes. Here's 2 bags of barley." Well, you can't carry 2 bags of barley. No.
All trade is in material goods pre-Columbia America, right? So they are carrying bags of maize through taxation. This is, the city, the king, they have this relationship amongst different, it's like a confederacy where some cities support other cities, and they do that through taxation and trade. But sure enough, nothing at all is described in the Book of Mormon.
That's a barter system, though, not a monetary system.
Right, good. So, sure enough, and if there was a monetary system, it would spread, right? Because they do have big trade networks.
Right, huge.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
North America, South America, Central America.
It's amazing.
Yeah, we saw that at Chaco. They'd go hundreds of miles to trade. Yeah.
That's what I mean. When you see that, you're just like, what a disservice to say that the Book of Mormon was it. When you look what they really were doing, it's incredible.
Yeah. And so, look, if there was a monetary system that would spread, and I mean, it's actually insulting.
That's what I said.
Let's move on before I get more insulted.
Let's move on. That's right. Okay, go ahead, Landon.
Religious practices described that are more consistent with 19th century American religious practices than ancient American ones.
Yeah, we talked about themes. Here's
baptisms.
Infant baptism. I bring that up all the time.
Well, forgiveness of sins. Sin is a Christian concept. It is not a concept of other cultures.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, though, I loved this picture when I was a kid. I would look at this in the Book of Mormon and just kind of go, wow, those ladies are so pretty. And those guys are so, it's a very provocative picture.
They don't talk about masturbation in the Book of Mormon, do they? Because I was constantly asked about that when I was growing up. And I was flipping through the scriptures. Where are they getting this? Yeah. Where's this coming from?
Not there. No. Unless you read between the lines somehow.
I was reading between the lines.
Maybe barley means something else. I don't know. Yeah, no, I have no idea. All right, next.
The seed had something to do with it.
Yeah, we're making good time.
Prophecies in the Book of Mormon that critics claim were written after the events they describe.
Yeah, we talked about that.
the coming of Columbus,
Yeah.
the American Revolution,
Yep.
and
The
amazingly, it does,
Witnesses.
the
yeah,
witnesses, all the prophecies end at the life
and
of Joseph Smith.
yep,
Yes.
yep.
We
Even the
don't get
Civil
anything
War.
past that.
Yeah, the Civil War is a
How
big one,
convenient.
but yeah, no, it is convenient. People do point to the Civil War, of course, but that's not even accurate either because everybody
No,
knew the
no,
climate there.
yeah,
They knew what
yeah.
was happening. It was no stretch whatsoever.
There's nothing in there. I mean, yeah. All right.
I think, Landon, that this episode is making John weak. He's
It
like,
is.
oh my God.
I'm starting to
just
get
like-
triggered.
Yeah, he's getting triggered. He can't take it. Oh my gosh. We got to plan that going out to dinner.
You
That'll
know,
make
no,
us
I'm
all
good.
calm
I'm good.
down.
I'll just breathe. I breathe.
Okay, go ahead, Landon.
I am
Again, here we go.
of God.
Do you wanna read
Christian
this one, Landon?
themes, presence of Christian themes and narratives in a pre-Christian context.
Okay. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting that ChatGPT keeps picking up some of these certain things over and over, saying them in different ways, but it's a big one. And that's why it's picking it up because there's no way to explain this or justify that this exists.
No, in fact, I was listening to a talk. It's been several months, but the nice fellow that talked at Ensign College, the evidences for the Book of Mormon.
Oh, yes.
What was his name? Anyway, one of the evidences he said was the beauty and complexity of the doctrine in the Book of Mormon. I'm like, well, this is where we're at. Here's middle management who has no sense of history, no training in theology, no understanding of biblical history. I don't even think he knows the scriptures. And because you cannot say that as an evidence for the Book of Mormon. Anyway, no.
Yeah. No, it's frustrating. I know it's very frustrating. All right, here's a good one: the New World animals again, but this time they mention animals that don't exist or that shouldn't be there and say they are, and then they mention animals that we don't even know what the heck they are. Mention of animals like the curlum and the how do you even say that kumam, which have no known equivalent in the ancient Americas. And I did ask AI to make a curlum, and that's what it made right there. Do you think that's accurate?
Well, they probably went extinct, and that's why we don't know what they are or what to call them. I'm sure that's
this actually verse always disturbed me, even as a TBM, because what's going on here? If all the words are loan shifting, it's not actually sheep, it's not actually barley, it's not actually cattle, right? It's not actually steel, right? There are other silk. Then where do we get curlum and kumam from?
Right, it's so oddly specific.
Right. I
mean,
mean,
translation.
Again,
why isn't that translated into something completely anachronistic, right?
Well,
if the other things are translated as anachronistically, then when we come to this, Joseph Smith should be doing something similar, but suddenly he's spelling it out letter by letter. He's saying, Oliver, it's curlum, Curelom.
Right.
What's that, Joseph? I don't know. It's appearing on the stone.
Yeah,
it's
I've got to read it. Yep. But when I saw the word turkey,
pretty, do you think she would go out with me? I'm sure this is the conversation.
This is the conversation.
But then when he saw the word turkey on the stone, he said sheep. I mean, is
that's
that
right.
what was supposed to happen?
Right.
That's
so
what I don't understand.
I'm serious. This verse always bothered me because I was like, you can't get that specific on something with no identity when the argument is all the other identities are, loan shifts.
Yep.
That's
a great point.
This just bothers
you
me.
could make the argument
point.
though that that these are extinct species and therefore there is no known equivalent, so he couldn't translate or loan shift to anything because it doesn't exist anymore.
I guess you could.
Yeah, you could make that argument. Again, another argument from the lack of evidence.
Yeah.
That's about all you have. Those arguments.
But again, this shows you what when you read something like this is the same confusion we have as the Nephites and Lamanites would have when he talks about sheep and goats and olives. You'd be going, what are these? I don't know what these are.
No, exactly. When Jesus
Yeah.
says that, he might as well be saying Kurlams and Kumans and
Exactly.
uppity doopities
And bears. Oh my. Or the life of Brian, right? Blessed are the cheesemakers. What did he say? The cheesemaker. What's so special about the cheesemaker? I gotta watch that again. I love that. We should watch it together. Let's have a watch
Yeah,
party.
no, that actually would be fun.
Here, that would be really fun. I think we should do it. Okay, John, here's your favorite one.
Shipbuilding, descriptions of shipbuilding and transoceanic travel that are not supported by archaeological evidence.
Yes, that's right. And there's my wooden submarine. What's the
just-
song?
We all live in a wooden submarine.
A wooden
Submarine.
No one is going to take us seriously as scholars after this episode, but sometimes you just have to laugh.
I love
so you
how a
can
14, 16-year-old Nephi goes out in the wilderness and he can build a boat. He can make iron tools. He can then strip and get all the materials and build a transoceanic seafaring vessel with him and, three brothers, two of which are trying to kill him every other day. It truly it doesn't strain credulity. It's a death blow. Stop
Here we
it.
go again.
Stop
Death blow
doing this.
number 40.
Well, I think if we look at a teenager who's obedient, that alone is anachronistic enough to.
Oh, yeah, Dad. That's right. All right. 41. Here we go. Military strategies and tactics described that do not match those of ancient American civilizations. That probably goes along with fortifications and some of the weapons. Or what do you think, John? You're kind of going, maybe this is one that's slightly accurate to you.
I don't know.
I heard something.
I have no opinion on this.
Yeah. Well, no, I heard that the way he would describe the battles were the way that you would fight a battle in the it was a 19th century construct, like building the fortifications. So when the infantry runs up, it was just, I read it a long time ago, just a way that he described warfare that was very consistent with what you would do in the 19th century.
I actually, when I was in the military, I had a JAG lawyer who was in our ward who went through the Book of Mormon and talked about how it very much matched the Geneva Convention in that when you'd capture prisoners, how they would put them to work and different things like that. I'm guessing, back in those times that you probably just killed your prisoners. You didn't have, prisoner camps or anything like that. They'd put them to work building stuff and that kind of stuff. But it was interesting. It was an interesting discussion.
It is an oddity in the Book of Ether. You have 1,500 years of history where they capture a king and they don't kill him. They feed him and he marries and he has more children and the children then rebel and free the king that wasn't killed. And then this just goes over and over and over, generation to generation. At some point, one would ask, hey, maybe we shouldn't keep these kings alive that we capture. Maybe we should just kill them.
Yep, I'm sure there's a podcast.
This would be an interesting one to explore, though.
Yeah, no, and I know I know that I've either read it or seen a podcast about this. So yeah, this is a good one. Make a mental note. Let's look into this one more.
Well, tanks and P-52s are as accurate in the Book of Mormon as the rest of it.
Yes.
And I will point out, they like to argue that that because they need the Nephites and Lamanites to be just a small group within the whole overall population, even though the Book of Mormon doesn't say that, they need that to be true. That's why you can't find them, is because they're a small population. Small populations do not go into kill to the last man battles. It's very small. You get 2 or 3 guys killed and that's it. And then you pull back because you can't afford to lose everybody or you all die because you're agriculture and you need everybody to plant and to do all the other work that needs to go to support your civilization.
Landon,
you can only do that if you have large populations.
Has never attended one of my family reunions.
Last man standing. It's always John.
It's this small population that has these massive battles, but it's a small population. It's really a game of kickball, really.
Yeah.
Well, the Mayans had soccer, right? Or a form of it. So
yes.
All right. 42, Landon.
Government structures. Government structures described that do not align with those of ancient American civilizations.
And that's what you just talked about, the kings and the children of the kings and the
Well,
all of
this
that.
is actually this is a real problem. They have that whole they have an empire in the Book of Mormon. It's a central judge, a centralized government that oversees all the city states with lesser judges throughout the entire system. So that is an empire. That's a centralized government regulating, keeping laws and taxation and administration over numerous cities. Sure enough, you don't find that anywhere in the Americas. So it's that's another death blow.
But
Sorry.
you do find that in 19th century worldwide, the British empires at its peak, the French Empire, you find empires all over in Joseph Smith's world.
Yep.
That's true. That's exactly right. All right. Are we on to you, Landon? I can't keep track, honestly.
Oh, I want to go back one more. On government structures, that whole idea of your freedom and the title of liberty, very American. Battles.
Very American, yep.
Genealogical records. Genealogical records described that have no supporting evidence.
Is that the provenance of the Book of Mormon? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
I'm guessing King's List.
The King's List, right? Like the provenance, all of that.
RFM does a great episode. It was a couple of weeks ago where he went through where the records were passed, the small plates were passed down.
Yes.
In the genealogy of Jacob. It was actually very well done. You should put the link in the
I will put the link. We're happy to link to RFM. Yeah, I remember that one. That was good. Just the whole concept of records, genealogical records, doesn't even exist. So, I mean, it's a moot point. Here we are back to metalwork, descriptions of advanced metalwork not supported by archaeological evidence. Again, abs for you, John. There they are. We'll let John read this one.
Textual consistency critics argue there are inconsistencies within the text itself.
Yeah.
Well, yes, there are. Not only a lot of New Testament quotations, but I actually am kind of going through a list of phrases. I don't have it in front of me, but you can tell when Joseph Smith makes a mistake because he has these phrases that he uses to cover for it. So, anyway, I don't have that in front of me.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about where he says, that is to say, or what I meant to say was, and in other words
is one of those phrases where
you wouldn't do
he
that
says something and it's not quite right. And then he says, or in other words, imagine that you're a scribe inscribing on metal plates, how hard it is, right? And you're going, blah, 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 blah. That's not quite right. Or in other words, and then you restate everything, blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry, that's not happening engraving on metal plates.
No, it's not consistent. No, the text itself, and we always say that's all they have is the text. And that's all we have too is the text. There's a lot in there. Very interesting. All right, let's move on. We are almost done. This is amazing. Chronological inconsistencies. And we talked about this before, timelines and events that seem inconsistent. Well, let me finish reading it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There we go. Timelines and events that seem inconsistent or contradictory within the text. And before, I think it said in the Americas, but I think here they're talking about, like you said, they leave Jerusalem, but the dates are not correct. It didn't happen in the order that they say they do. So I think that's do you think that's what they mean, Landon?
Yeah, they left when Zedekiah?
Yeah, Zedekiah.
And he's already been killed, or I think by then, or
all that. Okay, Landon's turn.
Lack of external corroboration, lack of corroboration from other ancient texts or records. Yeah, nobody mentions this group or Lehi or any of these other people that are involved with this.
Nope, never.
Other than Nahum in the desert, which
I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
And possibly Lehi's house, right? Didn't we hear that was discovered?
Yeah.
I like that all the archaeological evidence is in the old world, right?
Yeah.
You have the altar inscription, funerary stela, right? Lehi's house, right? you have this small group of people who don't want to be found. They're hiding, right? And we are finding evidence of them from Starbucks to Starbucks everywhere. Every time we pick up a rock, hey, look,
That's
it's
right.
Lehi and
Lee, it's
Nephi.
that guy.
But when we come to the Americas, where there's millions of Nephites and Lamanites, we can't find a single inscription, not a single Starbucks. Where, well, what happened?
Yeah, they're stealthy. That's for sure. Stealth. That's it. Scientific knowledge, some descriptions of natural phenomena that do not align with scientific understanding. We talked about that already. That's a good one. And go ahead, John.
Societal structures, descriptions of societal structures that are not supported by anthropological evidence.
Yep. Just the whole way. Yeah. Just everything about it is like a 19th century family, town, city, government, all of it. None of it tracks with anything else we know. Are we on our last one?
Last one.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, I know, really. But you know what? I can think of about 50 more, honestly. It only covered some of them. Go ahead, Landon. Last one.
Historical accuracy. General concerns about the historical accuracy of events and figures described in the Book of Mormon.
Yeah, there you go. Historicity. Let's say the word correctly for RFM. Historicity. That's what it's all about. Yep. So that's
Yeah, I'm glad we're
ChatGPT.
finishing.
I am too.
If we did another 50, it'd be like a Mormon sacrament meeting.
Yeah.
Then
Yes.
Just be like,
I'd have cerebral fluid coming out of my nose.
no, and I actually
right.
can't think of others, but these are the ones that ChatGPT went out and found. And that was this whole exercise, is just to ask it, what are people saying out there about the Book of Mormon being false? And there it was. So now our next slide, these are, see, anachronism busters. This is a big thing now, especially like with Book of Mormon Central, Scripture Central. They have these lists of anachronisms. And I was on Mormonism Live a couple of weeks ago talking about that. I think our next slide is one of those lists where they've listed out things like we just talked about, and they kind of color code them in a way that make you think, oh, wow, these are all being busted. They're all being solved, right? But nobody knows exactly what the criteria is. I mean, some of these are weird, right? They're just I don't even know how they would say.
Actually, I redid that list. The original list was mostly green, as in these have all been confirmed.
Right.
This is a complete and utter nonsense. It is. Yeah, it's in. Okay. Let me make one point. If you have a picture of Abraham Lincoln sitting in a wood chair on a porch on a log cabin next to a wooden axe, right? There's 100 things in the picture that are all historically accurate, and he's holding a cell phone.
Yeah.
You only need one thing in the picture to show the picture's inauthentic. Okay? So you can have 500 the things in your lists of anachronism and solve 499 of them. But as soon as the cell phone shows up, oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay. So this list that they've produced saying, here's all the things Joseph Smith didn't know. Well, would you quit telling me what Joseph Smith knew or didn't know? You don't know what Joseph Smith knew or didn't know. And by the way, most of these things are just obvious. They're just everybody knows. Stop
I like the
it.
one buildings.
Right, buildings. Whirlwinds, earthquakes.
We found a building.
Dirt, mountains.
I know dirt is one of my favorites. Well, and like John just said, this list used to be, I mean, some of the versions we've seen completely green. So you can look at it and go, oh, whew, I don't have to worry. All of these have been taken care of. I no longer have to worry. Of course, now John's gone through here and said, I don't know.
So look, they say metal plates, old world. Yes, that's true. There are metal plates in the old world. Doesn't mean a damn thing. Israelite writing on metal plates. Yes, but nothing that the Book of Mormon requires. There is no brass plates. Zero. Never existed. Does not exist. You will never produce it. Cell phone in the picture. Get it out of there. Right?
There you go.
Writing on metal plates in the New World. Well, sure enough, there's a couple gold plates with some Mayan glyphs on it. It has nothing to, again, as you go through these, what they've marked green mostly are red or irrelevant.
Right.
In fact, it drove me so crazy, I produced another table.
This is my favorite thing ever. favorite thing ever. Next slide, Landon. We are talking about the truth is out there. I made this one for you, John, to support your table. I love this.
I like the colors.
Yeah, it's great. For those of you that are listening, it's a giant Sasquatch in sort of a rainbow forest with leaves and flowers. And it says, the truth is out there.
Okay.
Next.
So I use the same methodology to show that Bigfoot exists. So I just took all the things that, 100 years ago, no one thought about. No one knew. Joseph Smith didn't know any of this, but now we have thousands. And you know what? We actually do have thousands of people who testify of the existence of Bigfoot. And so I just went through all the things that you need to have exist. If you walk out in the forest in the American Northwest, if that's there, then you have a chance of Bigfoot existing, right? Food source, fresh water, broken sticks. By the way, if you're in the forest and you come across a broken stick, that's a good sign that it might be from a passing Bigfoot, because I watched this show, Finding Bigfoot, and broken sticks are a big thing in that show.
Huge thing. He can't walk without breaking sticks anywhere he goes.
Do we know where this forest is that Bigfoot exists in, or is it just any forest that we find a broken stick?
It can be any forest you want.
Yeah.
All the forests. In fact, technically it doesn't, it could be in the desert. It could be in Detroit. Right? Can you find a broken stick in Detroit?
And for everybody that's listening, it's a graph, much like the evidence is graph. And as we're reading these things off, they've all been marked green. Yes, they exist.
Yes.
They exist. Yeah.
Caves, grottos, wood structures, tree knocks, strange sounds, strange calls, inexplicable growls, bad smells, missing food, missing items, feeling like you're being watched, clumps of fur.
Wait, this sounds like my last experience at girls' camp. I'm not kidding. When I was 16,
I was going to say that entire list is just a camp out with the young men.
Especially the bad smells, inexplicable growls.
But I mean, you have to look at it. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I've got some in green, most of it in green, some in blue, a couple things, a Bigfoot resurrected being. We haven't verified Jesus Bigfoot yet.
Not inexplicable scat. I like that one.
Yeah, Bigfoot toenail clippings.
That's
trending.
Another thing on the young men's camping list.
All these things could be, the evidence.
You're missing DNA. Don't we have DNA from the abominable snowman that we could compare with Bigfoot?
Yeah.
You know what? We actually have a Bigfoot mummy and skeleton. There's a headpiece in Tibet that they say is from a Yeti. You can look it up on Google. It's really interesting.
I've seen that before. Yeah. This is
but
incredible.
It's blue.
Eyewitness
It's trending. It's trending towards the green.
Trending. Yep.
Well,
the point is you can take that methodology and prove anything you want.
Yes.
And therefore it's crap methodology. So don't. I mean, this in the end is going to do more damage than it's going to cure. In the end, people are going to look back at it and say, what the hell were we thinking? Right? It's going to do more damage because it's not adjudicated to truth. This is just coming up with things to try to verify something that you're not going to verify. So anyway. There is more evidence for Bigfoot than there is for the Book of Mormon. And I mean that literally.
Yep.
I mean, we do have eyewitness accounts. We have freaking video evidence and audio evidence.
Yep.
And a 10,000 foot casts, right? We have more evidence for Bigfoot than we do for a single Lamanite or a single Nephite. Just want to make that very clear.
Yep, just think about that for a minute. And then you think about the numbers. More people are self-reported flat earth believers than there are reported members of the church. There are more than 17 million people in the world that believe the earth is flat. Things like that,
I think there's more than 17 million people in the world that believe in Bigfoot.
That's what I was going to say. And also, reptile government, all these things. If you look at these fringy beliefs, way more than believe reported members of the church. It really puts it in perspective. It's very interesting. And you could make a chart like this about any of those beliefs, flat earth or reptiles, whatever you want.
There is a long tradition in indigenous cultures of a Bigfoot-like creature, of a big hairy creature. It's certainly in the old world. You have big hairy man that goes back centuries that is recorded. So, I mean, there's actually a historical cultural provenance for Bigfoot far more than there is for the Book of Mormon. Again,
I'm a believer. You don't have to convince me. I grew up in Washington State. I saw that movie in the theater. It scared the bejesus out of me, but I'm a believer. I used to think I could see Bigfoot out of my window in my backyard.
All right, let's move on.
Does AI give us any positive things?
Yes, here we go. So the next thing we said is, and this is at John's suggestion, let's ask ChatGPT the opposite question. What are 50 reasons the Book of Mormon is true, right? And these, I didn't make an individual slide for each, but we are going to go through them fairly quickly. So John, do you want to read the little disclaimer that ChatGPT gave me when I asked that question? We remember the one from before. It was kind of apologetic. What does this one say?
Believers in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, LDS Church, consider the Book of Mormon to be a sacred text and often cite several reasons they believe it to be true. The belief in the truthfulness of the Book of Mormon is deeply personal and varies among individuals. Here are 50 reasons that believers often cite as evidence or support for the Book of Mormon's authenticity.
So there you go. So again, ChatGPT went out there and it mined the data and it says these are the reasons 50 that people are saying I believe the Book of Mormon is true.
I want to make a point here. I was listening to Sam Harris today from his book on Audible, and he points out, why is it that why do we always have to protect and put these these disclaimers about people's beliefs? I mean, if something's true or false, why do we have to put a disclaimer? Why do we have to make excuses for it? And that seems to be exactly what we're doing. We have to say, oh, it varies among individuals and it's deeply personal. It could offend somebody. Well, when did we care whether the truth, offended somebody? The truth is the truth, and that's what we should speak. But we saw in the last one, where it said this could hurt other people's feelings. Here it's saying, oh, be cognizant of these people because of their beliefs. But nowhere in here does it say, well, them teaching you this could be harmful to somebody who doesn't believe. It's only those who believe who are damaged by this, not those who are just looking for the truth. So I thought that was kind of interesting after what I just saw from or listened to from Sam Harris.
Oh, Sam Harris is interesting. But then again, you see something like, for example, okay, so I have parents that are faithful. My dad just died, but my mom. So we helped her move the other day. Everything that we moved are her farms books, her Nibley books, everything. I mean, shelf after shelf after shelf. Her shelf has not broken. It's there. And I'm looking at everything and I'm going, I wish I could tell her some things, but I'm not going to. It would freak her out. It would scare her if I said even anything about Mom, farms is kind of like disavowed now. You have all these books, but it's not really accurate. But I can't. I feel like I have to protect because it's such an important belief to her.
But that was Sam Harris's point, is the fact that you hold it so strong that you're going to be hurt if it's counteracted.
Yeah.
That right there should be a key that there's a problem.
Right.
that you can't handle anything that might be different.
Human beings have always been concerned about whether the truth offends. That's why it's so rarely followed.
Yep.
So this is an aspect of human nature and human culture. I don't know what Sam Harris said, but this has always been a problem, and it always will be a problem. In the Christian cosmovision, this is why Jesus was crucified, because people were offended by the truth.
Yeah.
Right? And so, there you go.
There you go.
That's a great point. That's a very great point. Maybe another episode in there to dive into that more. So we do have 50. And I think what we'll do, just to give, fair play here, we'll just read through everything. If anything strikes anybody, we can each read a page. We can stop and talk about it for a minute. So these are reasons that people believe the Book of Mormon is true, that ChatGPT has found. I'll read the first page. Number 1, archaeological evidence. Some believers see archaeological discoveries as supporting the Book of Mormon's historical claims.
Not a single one.
Yeah. Book of Mormon Central makes sure of that, right?
It's nice that they don't tell us what archaeological discovery.
No, they just say, again,
there is none. There is none.
Yeah, there aren't any.
ChatGPT is wrong. ChatGPT is just saying some believers think there's archaeological evidence. Right. Well, great. Bigfoot exists. Sure enough. Number 2.
No, this is my mom exactly. All of her Book of Mormon archaeology books, and she believes that. She believes that there is evidence that supports it. Number 2, spiritual witness. Many individuals report a spiritual confirmation or witness that the Book of Mormon is true through prayer and personal revelation. That is about the only way that I think you can feel to yourself that is accurate.
And if I may, as an individual who wants to build a individual worldview, that's fine. But the moment someone walks up and says, I'm the Lord's anointed, give me 10%, and do you masturbate? That point is irrelevant.
Yep.
I mean, that point offends God.
Yep. So
the moment you start meddling with people's lives in the way that they do, spiritual witness isn't on the table. You got to provide number 1, archaeological evidence, or get the hell off the stage.
Wow. That's it. Although unfortunately feelings are where it's at, right? And we take other, a leader says, I feel this.
It's offensive. I mean, don't be offended, but it's wrong. It's wrong that we have adjudicated all of it down to a personal feeling that can be manipulated so I can get your 10%.
Yeah. Well, and it's ironic.
It's anti-Christian.
It's anti-Christian.
I mean, that's just it. I mean, you don't have to be a believer, a theist, an atheist. It's anti-Christian.
Yeah. Well, it is funny that in Book of Mormon Central's Marvelous Work, Greatness of the Evidence, at the end of each episode, there's always a little segment on feelings, right? And personal witness and prayer and revelation. That every single one ends up like that. When they say, sure, there's evidence, and they do the air quotes and they say, but really, the true proof is in your faith. They, in so many words, they say that every time. So,
okay. Why is it that I think all 50 of these things are going to be incredibly general?
Yeah.
No archaeological, anthropological evidences whatsoever. Yeah. And we're going to get a lot of textual ruminations and personal spiritual ruminations. Why do I think that the 50 items that ChatGPT is going to pull out of the ether is going to be that?
Maybe we don't even need to go on because you're pretty much right. I've read through them already. Spoiler alert, that's it. So, but you know what? That says something, doesn't it? I mean, look at our falsehoods. The reason it's false, very specific, right? And now here we are to the reasons it's true.
Am I a little too
loud?
Are we okay?
I think we're okay. I think we're going to go
apologize.
Heightened emotion. No, we're okay. Okay. Historical context. The Book of Mormon provides a detailed historical narrative of ancient civilizations in America. Again, I'm reading this from the perspective of family members, and especially my mom, who's wonderful, but she definitely believes it. This is the story of ancient America.
But that's not proof for the Book of Mormon. That's proof against the Book of Mormon.
Except for if
the historical context is proof against the Book of Mormon.
I know that's the irony of this whole other list, is it actually is pretty much one for one, except for the personal revelation. It is proof against it, but it's all they got. So a prophetic calling. Joseph Smith, who translated the Book of Mormon, claimed to be a prophet called by God. People believe that. This is a reason that they think the Book of Mormon is true. The prophet is true, therefore the Book of Mormon is true. And the Book of Mormon is true, therefore the prophet is true. It's kind of another one of those cyclical reasoning situations. Number 5, complexity of content. I know, I feel like these are going to make John weak. Complexity of content. The Book of Mormon contains intricate doctrinal teachings and narratives. Yeah, I don't know.
Which again is an evidence against it, because for the culture of the time, they did not have,
they should not have had that.
These kind of doctrinal teachings and narratives.
Yeah. And I was going to say Samuel Clements has a different point of view of those intricate doctrinal teachings. All right, let's quickly move to the next slide before Dr. John has an aneurysm.
I'm totally
not kidding.
Fine.
Go ahead, Landon.
Fine.
Okay.
Keep going.
This one seems to be problematic again. Consistency with biblical teachings. The Book of Mormon aligns with and expands upon principles taught in the Bible, which, as we all know, was not even produced when they left. So
Complete anachronism.
how did
It
this
is a
happen?
proof against. It is a
Against.
proof against.
Number 7, internal consistency. The book maintains consistency in its narrative, doctrines, and teachings.
Well, it does do that. I think
go.
it is fairly remarkably consistent
Yeah.
in its narrative, doctrines, and teachings.
Yep.
And it's a narrative, doctrine, and teachings of 19th century Protestantism.
Yes,
Exactly.
absolutely. Absolutely. But it is consistent.
Yep.
Everything about the Book of Mormon is consistent. Everything about Joseph Smith is consistent. Look at that consistency.
There you go.
And you will find the truth.
All right.
Number
Number
8, literary style. Critics and scholars note the distinct literary style of the Book of Mormon. Like Shakespeare. Remember, they went to
that's
see
right. It's
Shakespeare.
just like Shakespeare. That's right.
What is the literary style?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's
How is it that the Nephites are writing in King James English?
Yeah,
What
that
an
is a good question.
absurdity. What a
Ado.
complete absurdity.
Ado. Yes, exactly. All right. Well, here's a good one. Here's one that we spend a lot of time
Our
on,
favorite,
right, Landon?
chiasmus. Some have pointed out the presence of chiasmus, a rhetorical structure, as evidence of its ancient origins.
Yeah, we've talked about that a lot. But a lot that was RFM's big thing. You know, he was an apologist for a long time. And he was like, it was beautiful, the chiasmus. It was incredible, you know. And then eventually he realized, oh, these exist everywhere, here, there, here, you know. The story is a little more complex than that, but this was really what he hung his hat on for a long time.
Geographical details. The Book of Mormon includes descriptions of geographical locations that some claim correlate with real world sites, although no one will say where.
Multiple real world sites. That's the problem. It could be here, there, it fits here, it looks like here. Exactly. And the church again says we do not have any opinion on where this was, which is so interesting. All right. Can you bring yourself to read these, John?
Have I lost it? I'm good. I'm totally good. Ancient language influence. The Book of Mormon includes phrases and names believed to reflect ancient Hebrew and Egyptian influences. There is some Hebraisms and biblical echoes in the Book of Mormon. Witness testimony. Several witnesses testified of seeing and handling the gold plates from which Joseph Smith translated the Book of Mormon. Utterly irrelevant. Fulfilled prophecies. The Book of Mormon contains prophecies that believers claim have been fulfilled. Okay. Doctrinal clarity. The book clarifies doctrinal points that might be ambiguous in other religious texts. Teachings on Christ. The Book of Mormon emphasizes teachings about Jesus Christ. None of this is about the historicity of the book.
No. And again, anachronistic teachings on Christ.
Anachronism. None of it. Yeah. Again, I would like to remind your viewers and also the TBMs who might or may not listen to this. The Bible does not have to be historical in order for it to be true, right? The Bible is a library of books that has many different genres, that is collected over centuries with different hermeneutics that have been interpreted diversely over centuries and millennium. It doesn't have to be historical in order to teach truth. The Book of Mormon must be historical in order for it to be true. It cannot be allegorical. It cannot be a parable. It cannot be, as the brethren are starting to say, it's not a history book. It's a book of scripture. Oh, get off the stage. No, it must be a history book. The angel Moroni has to be there for Joseph Smith to be a prophet. And that angel Moroni represents 1,000 years of history and culture and language and archaeology, anthropology, DNA, linguistics. And you've got to show that, or you have been a fraud the entire history of your church. So show it. Anyway.
There it is. You heard it from Dr. John Lundwall. Show it. And I will say about the witnesses, Mormonism Live is doing an amazing series with Dan Vogel. One last week, one tomorrow. Well, we'll air this later. So please go back and find it about the witnesses, because none of it is what you think. All right,
I
let's move
want to
on.
say one other thing there, John. You said that the Book of Mormon has to be historical to be true, and the Bible doesn't have to be historical to be true. I think the reverse is also correct. The Bible doesn't have to be true to be historical, but the Book of Mormon does have to be true to be historical because
Oh,
of its
Very well
claim.
said, Landon.
Yeah, that's a great point. Interesting. All right, let's move on. We're moving through them. I think it's my turn. All right, we're up to number 16, the impact on lives. So again, we're not talking about anything archaeological, any of this. Okay, many people report positive changes in their life after reading and applying the principles taught in the Book of Mormon. I won't argue with that. A lot of people are impacted by it to be a better person, to live a better life. I will not.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, it is true. Exactly. Number 17, continuity with restoration movement. The Book of Mormon is a foundational text for the Latter-day Saint movement, which has millions of adherents worldwide.
Also
Okay?
true.
That's very true. Exactly. Yeah. There's no reason not to say that. And there's no argument there at all. So the miraculous translation process, the miraculous nature of the translation process itself is seen as evidence of divine intervention. Okay. Well, that's very problematic. Even for me to find this picture, I was looking for a picture. I typed in Joseph Smith translation. Do you know how many versions of pictures of these events there are? There's a scribe, Joseph, and a curtain. There's a hat held at a distance. There's just the golden plates and Joseph is writing. There's Joseph with his head in a hat. There's like 15, 16, 17 different, and I'm talking artwork of how this even happened. No one even knows. They really won't depict it. And they certainly can't put their head in a hat. Have you noticed that? Look at that picture of President Nelson. He can't bring himself to do it. What
They've
they really
lied about it. They've lied about it.
Yeah.
All the way up until they couldn't lie about it. And then they still lie about it.
Wow.
And that tells you who you're dealing with.
Yeah.
That guy right there, he's a liar. Sorry. Don't get angry at me. He lied, not me.
Yeah.
So also I have to say, I think it's kind of awesome. Joseph Smith produces a 330,000 word text with his head in the hat. Oh, that's awesome. That's fantastic.
It is fantastic.
So I say, no, maybe that's pretty good.
Okay. Yeah, well, we're now getting the green light and thumbs up from Dr. John on number 18. It was a miraculous translation project.
I would say whenever you use the term miraculous, when you're using evidence, that should be a
little bit of a red flag.
Red flag, yes.
That's funny. Okay. Number 19, consistency with Joseph Smith's other revelations. Believers see consistency between the Book of Mormon and other revelations received by Joseph Smith. Are they talking about the DNC? And is that what they're talking
Everything
about?
else he made up?
Yeah, that's what I'm
Sure
saying.
enough.
Is that
all these things are true. This is like that list of all the green and red anachronisms. This is exactly what this is. It's oh, look at all the things that I mean, again, ChatGPT is just scouring the internet, data mining, and pulling up every reason that has been offered for the authenticity of the Book of Mormon, and it's this.
Yep.
Right? No archaeology, anthropology, DNA, linguistics, zero. So this is what we're going to get. It's actually quite entertaining.
That's what I was hoping.
You don't get to do that and demand 10% and give the temple recommend interview and everything else you demand of the members. This list does not qualify for you doing that.
Yeah, that's kind of the dark side of this.
Again, isn't that problematic when you say that the Book of Mormon is consistent with other revelations?
That's what I was
so
thinking.
a text from an ancient culture in the Americas is very consistent with what Joseph Smith taught. That I don't know that I'd argue that's a strength.
No, and he never taught from the Book of Mormon, so I'm not exactly sure what they're even referring to, unless it's the DNC.
The return of the king is consistent with the fellowship of the ring. Therefore, the story of Mordor is true. That's what that says.
Well, I do believe the story of Mordor is true, so don't mess with
my
personal myth.
What am I doing?
Okay?
I'm mixing metaphors and I'm degrading Token. Sorry.
No, yes,
sorry.
Please. Yeah, that's my personal myth right there. So don't mess with that. All right. Number 20, parallel teachings. Some teachings found in the Book of Mormon parallel teachings found in other ancient religious texts, meaning the Bible? Well, yes, of course.
And probably other texts too that Joseph was
The
familiar with.
Apocrypha and all
The
kinds of texts.
Apocrypha, the
Yeah.
Quran, others that he was
Yep.
familiar with.
So again, I don't say that any of these prove truth, but I feel like it must be something that has meaning for people who think it's true. So maybe that's how you say it. Okay, go ahead, Landon.
Inspired doctrinal development. The Book of Mormon contributes to a coherent doctrinal framework for Latter-day Saint theology.
Do you know what's not in the Book of Mormon? Have you read that list? It's pretty funny when I point that out to people. What's actually not there as far as what makes Mormons Mormon,
the plan
everything.
of salvation.
Nothing's there.
Yep. The God nature of the Godhead, not being three distinct
guys.
persons.
The entirety of modern Mormonism is not there.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, oh my gosh, it's a death blow.
Another death blow. Even in the truthfulness is a death blow. No, what is there is regular evangelical Protestant themes, like that, but not what makes Mormonism Mormonism.
Ironically, a better version of Christianity is in the Book of Mormon than it is in modern Mormonism.
Yes, absolutely. All right, go ahead, Landon.
Okay, challenges to traditional views. The book challenges traditional Christian views and provides a distinct perspective on religious teachings. That's actually probably not true. Mormonism challenges traditional Christian views, but the Book of Mormon does not. It pretty well lines up with Protestant Christian views.
I agree. It is right out of 19th century Restorationist Campbellite Christianity.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Landon.
Yeah, in fact, I always say this, but Steve Pinecker explained this to me. He's an evangelical, and he said evangelicals have an appreciation of the Book of Mormon because they find, these roots of the original sermons from the day, right? The evangelical Christian sermons that are there. You can kind of hear them in the Book of Mormon.
Rebecca. I mean, ironically, you can enjoy the truthfulness of the Book of Mormon as a non-Mormon, reading it for its historical Christianity.
Exactly. No, that's what I thought was really interesting. I never thought of it that way.
But you can't enjoy it as a Mormon because it's not historical.
Exactly. Yep.
Linguistic analysis. Linguistic studies sometimes suggest ancient linguistic patterns in the Book of Mormon. I think they're saying BYU linguistic studies show that it's true. All other linguistic patterns say no chance.
Yeah, so like chiasmus, Hebraisms is what they're talking about. And they really hit those hard because that is something they feel, I think, that they have. Maybe the last thing they're hanging their hat on, possibly.
Well, I think by linguistic studies, they're talking about that they're saying that there's ancient linguistic patterns in there that would correspond with, I guess, you're saying the chiasmus is one of those that they're saying is an ancient pattern. Historical validation. Some historical events described in the Book of Mormon align with events found in other historical records.
Really?
I don't know what
the
that would
Bible.
be.
Because the Bible, because he's quoting like Zedekiah, they left at the time of Zedekiah, but that doesn't align because it's off several years.
Right.
The Babylonian captivity, it talks about those. So because it talks about other things in history, that validates it. That seems like a pretty weak argument that just because you know something in history and quote it, that proves that what you're saying is true.
It's sort of like Harry Potter takes place in London. London is real, therefore Harry Potter is real, which I believe, but I'm just saying it's not a great argument.
The historical, there is a whiff of antiquity on the Book of Mormon, and that is imprinted on it through mimicry. It has mimicked the Bible and imports from the Bible the sort of historical flavor. But in the end, it's all a proof against the historicity of the Book of Mormon. The more biblical the Book of Mormon is, the less historical it is. Yeah, you're not going to get that kind of text in pre-Columbia America. I mean, it is a completely biblical King James English 19th century evangelical Christian text. So anyway, read that last point. All these
Okay.
points are just anyway, go on.
Witnesses' consistency. Witnesses to the golden plates remain consistent in their testimonies despite persecution and adversity. Oh, they love to argue that one.
Yeah, they do. And again, people have done multiple podcasts on the witnesses. It certainly is not what we think.
And what good is it? And what good is it? Can I sorry to bring the dreadful state of modern affairs, but can I find 12 witnesses for Donald Trump and 12 witnesses against Donald Trump?
Absolutely.
For Joe Biden against Joe Biden. Yeah. I mean, all these witnesses have the same family name. Yep. Geez, how convenient. That is completely insufficient. And they've hung their hat on that. They really have, Rebecca.
I know.
They've made films, and look, it's textual complexity, and we have 11 witnesses saying that they saw plates.
All from the same two families. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. No, and it's worse than that. Seriously, I'm watching this one on Mormonism Live. Everybody go look it up with Dan Vogel, and it's just like, wow. And most of these witnesses made other statements that they discredit. We don't believe him here, but we believe him here. You have to have it both ways.
Truth is not on their side. There was no ancient record on gold plates. I know that. So I have to adjudicate the witnesses based off the truth. Well, there it is. There are no gold plates.
Yeah. There's no gold plates. There's no Reformed Egyptian. How did these guys see that? Yeah.
That's right. So if they believe, then they believe, and they can witness to what they believe. But that still doesn't, that's not the standard of proof. The standard of proof is the archaeology, anthropology, DNA, linguistics. I'm not going to let you get away from that. That's the standard of proof. Everything else is a costume. It's a show.
Very good. All right. I think it's your turn to read. Number 26. We are really making great progress.
I'm a little animated tonight.
You know what? It's okay. No, this is entertaining, but it's a supercharged list. You know what I mean? It really is. Everybody has strong feelings about all of this, and that's okay.
I've agreed with some of these points.
No, and that's what I mean. We do agree with some of them.
No,
absolutely.
The head in the hat is genius.
No.
It's amazing. Early manuscript evidence. Early manuscripts and witnesses affirm the book's origins. God, what the?
I don't know. What manuscripts?
I don't know what that means. The manuscript itself of the Book of Mormon?
Early manuscripts and witnesses.
I bet they're arguing the fact that, there weren't any changes. It was handwritten, and wasn't changed. Therefore, it shows it was
irrelevant. Textual preservation. The preservation of the text through time supports its enduring message. No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't at all.
What is this?
That's funny. Remember, did we do an episode or something on that where we talked about, we're an episode that's coming out about the Book of Mormon where they say, we gave, this book has lasted through time. Of course it has. When you give it to a siloed community and tell them that it's their foundational scripture and book, it is going to be protected and be published and last through time. That's just how it is.
Because truth is not on their side and they keep lying about it, it will not last through time.
Yeah.
I mean, the irony is if Joseph Smith just said, I made this up, I'm publishing it as fan fiction.
Yeah.
It would actually last centuries.
I'm sure so.
It's not going to do that because they've built it around a lie. So I'm sorry, that has consequences. We don't know how that'll work out, but it will work out because it is a lie. All right, where are we?
It is a lie. All right.
I was evangelizing.
It was good. I'm already making timestamps of where are we going to cut these shorts of Dr. John ranting.
Oh, God.
It's going to be amazing.
Let's go back to Bigfoot.
Gold.
Let's see. Doctrinal explanations. The Book of Mormon provides explanations for doctrinal questions not fully addressed in the Bible. I know Alexander Campbell mentioned that, saying he has solved every current Christian issue that is being discussed in Sunday sermons in the local landscape. Sure enough. Cultural insights. The book offers insights into ancient American cultures that align with archaeological findings. The book offers insights into ancient America. That is just bullshit.
That one's
Yeah,
not even.
Again, that's farms. That's those farms books
Yeah.
that my mom loves so much. Those are the things that they taught in the 70s and 80s.
If
This
you're
whole
gonna
fabricated society.
If you're gonna say that, you need to say how. You can't just make a statement and not say how.
I apologize to your viewers. I meant to peer shit. Religious harmony. Believers find harmony between the teachings of the Book of Mormon and other religious texts. Okay. Well, I mean, besides 29, which is completely wrong, the rest of them are okay and irrelevant. Again, so this is what I predicted. We're going to be ruminating in things that have no relevance for the historicity of the Book of Mormon.
John, I think your Tapir shit joke went right by everyone.
It did.
That was really pretty good.
Everybody rewind.
Not horse shit, Tapir shit.
All right. Trucking on. Here we go. Ooh, we're already up to 31. Missionary success. The book's teachings have inspired successful missionary efforts worldwide. Well, I think perhaps in a day, maybe in the 80s and 90s, there was a push, success. I think then the internet, then I think we've seen what we've seen. But
hey, I read that 40% of
Yeah.
return missionaries are leaving the church. Have you read that?
Yeah.
Yeah. John DeLynn kind of broke that and he got that information. So I'm thinking anecdotally and of the young men that I know that have come home, give them a year or two. Yeah, I would say anecdotally, the ones that I know, which is a very small group. Yeah, I would say that tracks.
I
So-
think because they go out and teach about the book and then find out the historical issues with it.
Exactly.
And that breaks them real fast.
Yeah,
So
I think it does.
They
I
can't
know.
put
And
the
we-
genie back in the bottle. The internet has broken the bottle.
I know.
yeah.
And so, and you know what? The bottle was a lie and they've been caught.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but a lot of people think that the missionaries go out. And of course, the church hides the fact that there isn't great success. So a lot of people think that there is great success. Same with temple building, right? It says to some people, this means there's success that must be true. All right, healing and miracles. Some attribute healings and miracles to the spiritual power of the Book of Mormon. That's kind of interesting. I mean, I've heard attributing it to the power of prayer or just Mormonism in general, but not necessarily the Book of Mormon. And it's interesting. The artwork I have here is actually from a Catholic hospital. It's a picture that was on their wall. It's Jesus, touching a young man who's obviously sick in the hospital. When you search for those pictures about Jesus in the hospital, there's some scary pictures, like very creepy.
Yeah.
Like little kids laying there in this creepy. I mean, they were terrifying. Seriously, everybody go Google Jesus in the hospital. There's some frightening artwork out there.
Whenever though your proof is some attribute, some say, sometimes this happens.
Yeah.
Those aren't words of that should really be strengthening your faith in this evidence here.
Yeah. Here's a good one. Persecution endurance. The endurance of persecution by believers as seen as evidence of their commitment to the book's teachings. Right there. That's, I think, the best one they've ever found. The persecution endurance. Because that's
a persecution complex is evidence that whatever you believe in is true.
It's true. Otherwise, you would not be.
You would not feel persecuted.
This is what we're seeing in the temple building, right? Absolutely. Yep. The church itself is we can't do an episode without talking about temple building, but the church is going out and, putting these buildings where they don't belong and the residents are getting upset. And then, of course, the members feel persecuted when the members say, the residents say, can you just follow the laws of our town? They double down then on their belief, on their religion, because they're feeling persecuted. So that's a good one. That's really, that's smart of ChatGPT to pick that one up, I think. That is fascinating. Okay.
The church is treating these local communities in no different way than they have treated the members from day one.
I know that. I keep trying to explain that.
They have forced, engineered, through machinations, gaslit, threatened, and that's why this will fall to pieces. Because in the end, it doesn't matter how tall your steeple is when your foundation is built on the millstone.
Again, another great short, John.
Some
All
of
right.
these
But
are pretty good.
it was really
I'll
good.
have to
That's
write
like we
that
all got
down.
silent. We were all just staring. It was amazing. All
Did
right.
you get T. Pierce shit?
Yeah.
That was better.
Yeah, it was so good. I'm going to make a meme. Sorry, I'm going to borrow that. Okay. 34, prophecy fulfillment. Some believers see current events as fulfilling prophecies in the Book of Mormon. Of course they do. It's the pride cycle. I hear that all the time. I've had a couple of missionaries go out and they often would talk about that, the pride cycle, and you can see it. And it was predicted in the Book of Mormon, the pride cycle. No other civilization has ever had a cycle where they rise and they fall and they rise and they fall. So yeah, I think a lot of people look at that. And the church focuses on that too. It's an interesting one. Okay. Evidences of divine inspiration. The profound impact and clarity of the teachings are evidence of divine inspiration.
Okay.
Some of these we're not quite sure what they mean.
I was just ruminating on that on 31.
Oh, he's gone back. 31.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I was
Which
not
is missionary success.
I was not a slackard
No, I
as
know.
a missionary.
Right.
I taught what I believe to be true with utter conviction and spirit and my belief system. So the problem is if 40% of the missionaries are leaving within a year or two after their missions, they don't have the conviction. I mean, that is a completely different framework. My conviction kept me in the church, extending my shelf over and over and over, right? So something's happened in the culture of the church where I mean it's not working anymore. Anyway.
No, I think a lot of
just
people
personal
sense
ruminations.
that.
I have no idea if it is
No, I
helpful.
think a lot of
Probably
people
unhelpful.
sense that.
I will shut up.
No. It's I think a lot of people feel that way. And you're crystallizing our thoughts eloquently. There we go. All right, Landon, I think.
Spiritual confirmation in others. Many people report receiving spiritual confirmation of the book's truthfulness.
Sure. I would agree with that.
Wow, this one's completely wrong. Historical consistency. Historical details within the book are consistent with what is known of the time periods and cultures it describes.
No, we just went through that. Not at all.
Yeah, not at all. Moral teachings. The moral teachings of the Book of Mormon resonate with believers and promote positive behavior, as do many books.
Right.
There's entire libraries of self-help books at any bookstore that you go to, whole sections.
The canon of the Western tradition. It's interesting, those first two, spiritual confirmation, which is true.
Mhm.
People have spiritual experiences reading the Book of Mormon because, you know what? It's the Sermon on the Mount given a different costume. It's full of archetypal truths. It's full of literary truths. That's true. Historical consistency. Oh, no, that's not true. There's no history in it whatsoever. And the standard of proof is its historicity, not its spiritual confirmation.
Exactly.
The church this is the grift. They've made the spiritual confirmation the historical truth. That's a fraud. That's a lie. And it will catch up with them. It is catching up with them. But
which
payday
conflicts with the moral
yet.
teachings of number 38.
Exactly. No, that does conflict with the moral teachings.
No, it's true. That's thank you. It's a complete repudiation of the Christianity in the text. What they've done to it. And to the members.
And to the members. I know.
39, social impact. The book's teachings have had a positive impact on communities and societies. That's true. It's
We're all
also
like
had negative
wiggling.
impacts on communities and
Yep.
societies.
That's
Both
correct.
ways.
Didn't do a great thing for Nauvoo. Didn't do great things for Kirtland. Those communities.
I would say
had some-
Mountain Meadows probably didn't
Mountain
fare so
Meadows
well
didn't have
with the
great.
Mormon
Yeah, didn't
teachings.
go well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's a lie,
It goes both ways.
it will harm more than it will improve. And if we could look at the history of Mormonism, all the people it's impacted in every way, I think we would be horrified with what has actually gone on. For every person where this works, they are having a spiritual experience. They've separated the peas and carrots on their platter and they're able to eat Salisbury steak every day for the rest of eternity. That's Mormonism. There's a group of people where it works, right?
Right.
For
Yes,
every person that it works, there's two that it has harmed.
I agree with that.
And if we could see that, if we could see all the people came over from the old world based off things that weren't true and all the sacrifices they made based in archetypes that they were projecting onto the movement that were not in the movement itself. If we could see the actual cost, the human cost, I would argue even the most ardent TBMs would burn the church to the ground. If we could just see.
If we could see the big picture.
Well, and we have to look that there's supposedly 17 million members, but only 3 million who really attend. Let's say 4 million to be.
There's not 17 million members, right? There's 4 million that attend. There's 1 million that believe.
Yeah, well, that means there's a 13 million that the church has reached out to and impacted who have not had a positive impact because they've left it or they've never were,
That's a
part
good
of it.
point. That's a good point.
Cultural contributions. The Book of Mormon has contributed to the cultural identity of Latter-day Saints.
Well, it is the identity.
Obviously.
Do any of you remember this book? I had this book when I was growing up. It was all Meet the Mormons. I know now it's a victory for Satan, but I found a picture of it. Meet the Mormons. I used to read this and pictures of General Conference in Utah, and it's just all about Mormonism. I know.
I laugh at that one because it's the Book of Mormon has contributed to the cultural identity of Latter-day Saints. It has not contributed to the cultural identity of Mormons. Ironically.
Well, that's a very good point. Yep. It's hard to keep.
Look, guys, I've traveled a bit in my life. And when I was TBM, people would find out I'm Mormon. And I'd always get the same two comments, no matter where I was, in the country, out of the country. I was always asked how many wives I had.
Of course.
And no matter how the church has promoted that's never going away. I was always asked that. And I was always told, you know what? Every Mormon I've met are nice people. Mm-hmm. So look, culturally, Mormonism can produce, well, there's a lot of sociopaths in Mormonism too, but Mormonism can produce a lot of nice people, and most Mormons I know are nice people. Mm-hmm. So I look at the cultural contributions. One of the things that this movement has done is built really tight-knit communities, and boy, they're going to have to negotiate how that falls apart when eventually all the lies come to the fore. So again, in the end, because it's based on a lie, it will do more damage than good. So, there is this thing that they teach called repentance, which they could do. But don't hold your breath.
No apologies. Nope. That's part of the doctrine.
That's not repentance. You don't get away with an apology.
Nope.
You've got to fully disclose all the truth, all the lies you've said, fully disclose all your financials and what you've done, and then give it all back. Right?
There it is.
The first Mormon priesthood leader that does that will be the first Mormon prophet. The rest of them are just frauds and liars. I'm really on one tonight.
You are, but you know what? It's because we've gone through 100 things.
Oh God.
about
No
the book.
wonder. Is this
I
my
don't even
list?
know.
Let me
This
go.
is yours.
This is
Literary influence. The book's influence extends beyond religious circles into literature and art.
Yeah, Mormon art, Mormon.
Right.
literature.
What
The
is
Book
this?
of Mormon, the musical. That's an
Oh,
extension
no,
of the
that
Book
was
of
pretty
Mormon.
good. I
See?
haven't
But again-
seen it. Have you seen it? We should go see it.
Yes. I've seen it twice. We need to all go see it. Next time it's somewhere close, let's all go.
I
But
agree.
again, Star Wars and Star Trek also have done that. You know, doesn't make them true.
No, I mean, the Book of Mormon influenced Battlestar Galactica, so it does go both ways.
Harry Potter, another testament of Jesus Christ.
I believe in Harry Potter more than I do the Book of Mormon.
Academic study. Scholars continue to study the Book of Mormon from various academic disciplines. You know, again, most of these are true and irrelevant.
Yes.
Spiritual empowerment. Believers report feeling empowered spiritually through their study of the book.
Sure.
Fair enough. Translations and translations. The book has been translated into many languages, reaching diverse audiences. Okay, fair
Okay.
enough.
As
Modern
of
revelation.
hundreds of
Latter-day
other
Saints
books.
believe in the Book
Yeah.
of Mormon is a product of modern revelation. Well, okay.
Yeah, again, irrelevant. I like how you're saying that. It's just, okay, we'll give you that, but what does it mean? All right, we're on our last 5. Can you believe it? We've made it. This is amazing.
Well, I know we've made it, but has the audience made it?
Yeah.
I doubt it. Thank you to the 2 of you that are left there in the chat. We appreciate you so much. And give me your address and I'll send you something. So. All right, number 46, symbolism and allegory. The book contains symbolism and allegory that deepen understanding of spiritual truths. There's symbolism, there's allegory, most of it lifted from the Bible.
Of course, the olive tree, the allegory,
I have
which
put the
is
olive tree down
again anachronistic. So
Yeah. So, but a lot of works of literature have symbolism and allegory. So sometimes where you look for it or you find it where it isn't even there. 47, witnesses' personal integrity. The witness to the Book of Mormon's origins were known for their personal integrity and honesty. Well, I mean, they certainly had a motivation for claiming to have seen what they saw.
Wow, that one is interesting, as we know that Cowdery accused Joseph Smith of adultery and of counterfeiting and lying and cheating and vice versa. Joseph claimed that. So are they do they have integrity and honesty when they're testifying of each other's faults like that? Would seem not.
No, it's picking and choosing because they all tried to excommunicate each other and accuse each other. Everyone accused everyone of counterfeiting, all of them. We have an episode about that. I mean, you're a counterfeiter and you're a counterfeit. Yes, but when it comes to the plates, they have to be impeccable. So it's cherry picking, in my opinion. Global expansion. The book
They're
has
like a
contributed.
crime syndicate.
Yeah.
We
say that all the time. We say that all the time.
It's
that is the closest.
like a crime family.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? So the residents in all the towns where we, deal with the temple building, and they know nothing about Mormonism. They've just heard Mormons, whatever. Now that they've been dealing with Mormonism and the way it works and the people and the leaders, several of them have said, this is like, I don't want to say it, but a crime syndicate, like independently. They have come up with this. Or a cartel. They have come up with the way they're operating is like this. So it's interesting.
Well, that's because it is.
Okay.
Including money laundering.
Yeah, that's it. Contributions, all of it. Okay. Global expansion. The book has contributed to global expansion of the Latter-day Saint movement. And I put a picture up here of when President Nelson received the Gandhi Nelson King
Gandhi
Mandela Peace Prize or whatever. And he started calling himself a global faith leader about 5 years ago. So they definitely think they're expanding. That's for sure.
I wouldn't argue that one. I mean,
no, I don't argue it either. No, I don't think so either. Because a lot of people know
irrelevant again.
Irrelevant, but people do know, they do think of Mormons and they think of the Book of Mormon. Although, will that change now that it's Book of Mormon?
Here's my prediction. President Nelson will not be remembered as one of the most inconsequential leaders of the Mormon Church.
Really? Well, he's certainly trying hard to prove the opposite.
That is, he will not be remembered.
Yes, he will not be remembered. All right. Cultural adaptation. The book's teachings have adapted to diverse cultural contexts. Well, it has been translated into multiple other languages, and there are branches of the church all over the world. So I guess maybe.
Maybe cultural appropriation.
That's part of it, yes.
I don't think they're adapting to the local cultures. They're appropriating the local cultures to become 1950 America white Protestant Mormons.
Yep, all the white shirts worn all over the world.
I'm just glad that the question, do you masturbate, has been institutionalized in 164 different languages.
That's right. Every bishop needs to know how to say that. And
I think there's a child song there where you could sing.
Yeah,
sing
remember the one about happy birthday?
Yeah.
Where you sing it in all the different languages?
But you could say the word for masturbation in all the different languages.
Oh my gosh. Well, there is a new hymn book coming out. It might be there. We don't know. All right. And we're on our very last one. I can't believe we've made it. And the 50th one is legacy. The book has left a lasting legacy on religious thought and practice. That's true.
It is true.
It is true. So yeah, we're not disagreeing really with too many of these. Some of them we are, but like you say, John, irrelevant.
Don't have no proof of any, none of these are proof of any historicity or that it, is by any means true or historical.
Yeah, I think that's true. Let's go to our final slide and we'll share our final thoughts. And see, look at this one. It even kind of got AI, Book of Mormon right. Look, it never can write correctly, but look at that. And then it has a cute little, says Mormon on the robot's chest. I think this is so cute.
What's the thing over here on the left?
I have no idea. I think that's another book of Mormon. Yeah. I don't know. It's almost perfect. All right. So I guess the final question is, what did we think of our exercise? I thought it was really interesting. I mean, I kind of did it thinking it would be entertaining, but then just like you, John, as I was reading through these today, putting the slides together, I went through kind of a gamut of emotions, right? I was kind of mad at the things that were ridiculous. I was kind of, thinking of my faithful family members and their beliefs and the impact all of this has, both sides. Is it false or is it true? So it did get me thinking a little bit. I'm glad that we did it. What do you think, John?
I grew up loving the Book of Mormon. It's a great yarn. It's a great tale. It's filled with great 19th century sermons. You know what? I grew up loving the Book of Mormon. I also grew up just wondering what my church was. It was so freaking small. The Book of Mormon is bigger than the church. It's bigger than all the priesthood. It's big. I mean, that's the irony. There's just so many paradoxes in the whole Mormon movement. I mean, look, it's a lie. It's a fabrication. But it's a lie that Joseph Smith just consistently, he knew his audience. He wanted to sell this. He just wanted money. He wanted to sell this to the, the Burnover District, the Great Awakening, all those Christian evangelicals. So anyway, this was an interesting exercise. What I saw in the 50 proofs for the Book of Mormon was exactly what I thought I would see. And the 50 proofs against the Book of Mormon, there's a lot of repetition there. But ultimately, there's no archaeology, anthropology, linguistics, or DNA. You don't get to get around that. You don't get to not say where it happened. I mean, they're still saying we can't say where it happened. We can't find any Lamanites. We have no DNA. Oh my gosh, you're done. You are done. You, at this point, if you're going to call yourself the Lord Anointed, you got to admit the Book of Mormon's made up. And if you can't do that, then you do not get to call yourself the Lord's. I mean, you shouldn't be calling yourself that anyway, because the Lord despises what you're doing. If you believe in the Lord, he would despise what you're doing. So anyway, I've just kind of wheeled off. And I'm spinning in donuts right now.
I know. No,
it might be the wine.
You mean the Gatorade? No, I know. No, it's been a really interesting exercise. That's what I mean. Just to go through the whole list. It just brings up a lot of points. It makes you think about things in a way maybe you haven't thought about them before. So no, I'm really glad we did it. What do you think, Landon?
I think we may not know where the Book of Mormon happened, but thank God we know where the Garden of Eden is. So,
Oh, well, there you go. Is that the final word? We know. Well, it's in Missouri, and they just announced the location of the new Springfield Temple in Missouri.
Didn't
So
they just sell all their real estate in Missouri?
they did sell all their real estate except for the temple where they're going to build it in Springfield. So actually in Ozark, I think. In Ozark is where I read that it was.
I think they hung on to the Garden of Eden, though. I think they still own that. So
I've never been there. Have either of you been? You've
Yeah.
been, Landon, haven't you?
Yep.
Have you been?
Yes.
And you've seen the altar that's there?
no, it was
No.
locked.
It was
We
what?
got there late and
Oh,
yeah,
I was like, it was
couldn't
locked.
drive in. Yeah. So,
I know.
but I've been
Well,
to the area. Yeah.
But you've been to the area.
gates. I've been to the gates of the Garden of
You've
Eden.
been to the gates of the
And then I
garden.
was cast out into the lone and dreary world. So,
Well, I think we're all a little lone and a little dreary after this. Exactly. It went on for a while. So, but I'm glad that we did it. And thank you for the suggestion to my friend on social media who came up with this. And thank you to John for saying, hey, if we're going to do what makes it false, we have to do what makes it true. Because I think the juxtaposition there was really interesting. There's a lot to learn from it. So please comment. Let us know what you thought of our 100-point episode, right? 54, 50 against. Let us know what you thought. Please like and subscribe to Mormonish Podcast. And if you'd like to be made aware of when new episodes come out, you can hit that notification bell. If you would like to donate to Mormonish Podcast to help us financially, we have links in the show notes to donor box. We are a 501(c), so you can make contributions pretty easily. And we really appreciate all of you that do help support us financially. We really couldn't do fabulous episodes like this. 100 points for and against the Book of Mormon. It could never happen without all of you. We also have links to our merch store. My mug is somewhere else, but I do have my fabulous water bottle right here beside me. What do you have, Landon? Oh, you've got your little tumbler. Okay, see, we have kind of fun stuff. So check that out in the show notes, our merch store. And we will say goodbye for now and see you again next time on Mormonish. Thank you, John Lundwall, once again. You're amazing. Thank you.
Thanks. Good night, guys.
Good night,
Good night.
everybody. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Mormonish. We really appreciate our listeners and would love to hear from you if you have a story you'd like to share. You can email us at mormonishpodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and on our website, mormonishpodcast.org. And don't forget to look for us on YouTube and like and subscribe. Keep joyful, everybody.